Hi, I'm Robin Bensley. Welcome to Chow Time. This beautiful antique that we just bought is a Thomas Edison 1915 Amberola. And this is kind of the precursor to a record player. So watch this. Is that the coolest thing ever? So for this week's Chow Time, we're going to travel back in history to America in 1915. Now, there were no washers and dryers, there was no air conditioning, there were no TVs. Babe Ruth hit his first home run in 1915. Ford built its 1 millionth car in 1915, and in fact, the first stop sign appeared in Detroit. And life was obviously very, very different then. Woodrow Wilson was president, but there wasn't a lot of lavish entertaining at the White House because of World War I. And so they would have family and friends to visit them, and those family and friends could wake up in the morning at the White House and expect to have this favorite food of the Wilson family for breakfast. Now this is your heart part of the railroad engineer. You know he's in danger and happy as ever near. You know he loves you dearly when he is by your side. So for these White House apple muffins from 1915, I'm going to mix some dry ingredients together. I have a cup and a half of flour. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Here's one. And a half a teaspoon of salt. We'll just mix that together and set it aside. Now I've separated 2 eggs. So here are the yolks. I'm going to beat those really well. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And a half a cup of sour cream. And here's an interesting thing about food in 1915. It was huge meat and potatoes type of thing. Bread was 7 cents a loaf. Steak was 26 cents a pound. And I love this. Lobsters were all over the place in the United States, and so they would serve them to prisoners. Imagine that. So I'm going to add this sour cream, butter, egg yolk mixture to my dry ingredients. We shall stir that in. Okay, now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of heavy cream. There's one. There's two. Mix that up. This is such a weird dough for muffins. It's drier than most, and you notice there's not any sugar in it. This is what they liked at the Woodrow Wilson White House. Okay, now I'm going to add 2 more things. The 2 egg yolks that I beat, well, I whipped up the whites till they were stiff. We're going to fold those in. Which I find a very interesting idea for this recipe. Okay, egg whites are in there. And the very last thing you want to add is the apples. I have 2 apples that I peeled and cored and diced, and these are firm apples. You don't want to use like a Macintosh. You want to use a more crispy apple. So I'm going to put those apples in there. Alright, so the apples are all folded in there. Now we start filling the paper cups. And because there wasn't any sugar in the batter, the only thing that's making these muffins sweet is the apples. I'm going to put a sprinkling of raw sugar on the tops of all of these. I think that's going to add a great touch. And these go in a 375-degree oven for about 20-25 minutes. Here we go. Woodrow Wilson's White House apple muffins from 1915. Very curious to see how these will taste. They're kind of different looking from modern day muffins, aren't they? They're actually good. There's so much chopped apple in there, that adds to the sweetness of it. They're kind of rustic, I guess. And here's the thing that amazes me. 1915 was just a little over 100 years ago. That's nothing, 100 years. Can you imagine what has happened from back then to now? And this Ambarola. I mean, I have a cooking show on the internet. Can you imagine anything like that 100 years ago? It was nothing. And I would like to say a little shout out to Thomas Edison for this very cool antique. So if you want to make a historic White House recipe, try this.